Hello and welcome to Miss Dooley's classroom. Today's learning goal is to use various mental strategies when multiplying and dividing. I have also included the learning outcomes for teachers that wish to use this as a resource. One example of a mental strategy for multiplication and division is the commutative property. If we know the product of one multiplication fact, we also know the product of a second multiplication fact. For example, if we know 9 times 3 equals 27, we also know that 3 times 9 equals 27. This is called the commutative property of multiplication. Can you think of another example of the commutative property? Another mental strategy for multiplication and division is multiplying tens, hundreds, and thousands. You can multiply by tens by labeling them tens and using your multiplication facts knowledge. For example, 5 times 60 equals 5 times 6 tens, which equals 30 tens, and that equals 300. Can you think of another example that requires you to multiply by tens? Another mental strategy for multiplication and division is related division facts. You can even label tens as tens when multiplying tens by tens. For example, 20 times 50 equals 2 tens times 5 tens, which equals 10 hundreds, which equals 1,000. So if you know this, you also know the related division facts. For example, 1,000 divided by 50 equals 20, and 1,000 divided by 20 equals 50. Can you think of another related division fact? Another mental strategy for multiplication and division is doubling and halving. You can also find the answer to a multiplication question by doubling one factor and halving the other factor. For example, 14 times 4, half of 14 is 7, and double 4 is 8. This gives 7 times 8. And you know from your multiplication facts that 7 times 8 equals 56. Can you think of another example where doubling and halving could be used? Another mental strategy for multiplication and division is renaming a factor. You can also rename a factor to make it easier to multiply. For example, 98 times 4. You can rename 98 as 100. Then times 4 equals 400. You now need to adjust the product and take away the additional 2 times 4. So 400 take away the 2 times 4 will then become 400 take away 8, which equals 392. So our original problem of 98 times 4 equals 392. What is another example where you could use this rename a factor strategy? Another mental strategy for multiplication and division is using multiplication to solve division facts. For example, 24 divided by 4 can be read as 24 how many 4s. Skip count by 4s to find how many 4s are in 24, or use multiplication facts. 4, 8, 12, 16, 20, 24. There are 6 4s in 24, so 24 divided by 4 equals 6. Can you think of another example where multiplication is used to solve a division fact? Another mental strategy for multiplication and division is the halving strategy. You can also use a halving strategy to find answers to division questions halving both numbers. For example, if I have 112 divided by 8 and I halve both of these numbers, I now have 56 divided by 4. If I halve these numbers again, I have 28 and 2. Halving again, I get 14 and 1. If I stop here, 14 divided by 1 equals 14. So, my final answer, 112 divided by 8 equals 14. Could you think of another example where the halving strategy could be used to find answers to division questions?